Hello, and welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am your host, Brittany Ford, and I am super excited to have you joining me this week. I am a registered holistic nutritionist and a biohacker and content creator and all of the things. And this is a place where I interview people and we just chat biohacking, wellness, health, nutrition, all of the things. And today's episode is just me, myself, and I, and you listening. And I'm gonna do something different I don't think I've done before, where I'm actually gonna just talk about the biohacks that I'm into right now. None of this is sponsored at all. I wish. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I use in my everyday life and new things that I'm trying. And I'm always constantly reiterating my health routine and updating my journey and learning new things. And so this is kind of like a check-in. And sometimes I post about things that I'm doing on Instagram and sometimes I don't, just because I kind of get exhausted by constantly updating social media. So this is just a nice place to kind of run through what I'm into right now. And so I have a bunch of things looking at me on my desk right now that I'm using and are about to use and really diving into. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the people who did sponsor this episode, which is Inside Tracker. I actually just got my new test results back today, and you'll hear me talk about it, but it was really interesting because my biological age actually went up a few years, which I kind of guessed what was going to happen because I just went to Costa Rica and I wasn't super healthy when I was there, but it was really interesting to see that. So stay tuned when I talk about that. And a shout out to Sensate, which all of the biohackers love. Sensate is just so great for really stimulating our vagus nerve, helping with stress management. And you can find the discount codes for both of these brands on my website, biohackingbrittany.com. I have a shop and everything is listed there that I am an affiliate for. So please check it out. Sometimes people who have affiliate codes make a kickback, but oftentimes we don't. It's just mostly for you guys to use so that you don't have to pay full price, which is always really nice because anyone who has been biohacking for a long time knows that it can be really expensive if you start buying all of the latest supplements and gear and everything. So definitely check it out. And I'm always adding to it as well, which is great. So thank you for that. And thank you for everyone who is listening and all of the reviews recently. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your patience and loyalty when I took 2 weeks off. And it's just nice. Like, this community is growing and it's really exciting. And there's more and more female biohackers coming out. And there's more discussions about it too, which is really cool to see, because in the beginning, it just kind of felt like there was just a few people, but now I'm kind of seeing some faces everywhere. So it's awesome. So keep it up and I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening. Okay, so let's dive into what I'm into lately, what I'm using, what I'm not using, etc. So the first thing I want to talk about, which I haven't done yet, but I think is really cool, and I'm really excited to see this technology come out, is a company called Bristle. So they created a test, an at-home test that takes a look at your bacteria in your mouth, which is really interesting. So obviously we've seen this with Viome, which does it for our guts and gives us a bunch of recommendations, and then we can eat better so that we can have better gut health, etc. But this concept being applied to our oral microbiome is very interesting. I just recently spoke to the founder actually, and he was saying that they are constantly coming out with more information on how certain bacteria in our mouth is linked to other issues in different organs that we have, or in our gut, or our hormones. And they're kind of making connections now, which is really cool. So I'm about to do this test in the next couple of days. It's basically a saliva test and you send it in and then you get like a report back that gives you a full like analysis of your oral microbiome. And I'm excited to see what they recommend, and because they can link the bacteria to, like different issues that you can have orally, but also like bigger health concerns, like I said. So I'm curious to see kind of where I'm at with this as somebody who definitely biohacks their like oral routine, and the products I use are very clean. I'm very much aware of the oral microbiome and try and keep it in balance. So that's really cool. And I don't floss every day, which sounds terrible, but I use my tongue scraper every single morning. I have a vibrating toothbrush that is made out of charcoal. And I also have proper toothpaste that doesn't have any garbage in it. I have a few different ones actually that I rotate. One of them also has charcoal in it for like detoxing, but yeah, I try to be very clean. And I just remembered, I also have this teeth whitener that uses red light therapy and blue light. And you put this gel in it and then you bite down on it and it like whitens your teeth. And that is very helpful as well. So I actually need to start using that again, especially now that I'm going to have a wedding next year. I want to whiten my teeth more. So yeah, if you're curious to try any of the products that I'm going to list today or biohacks, it's all going to be in the show notes. I'll link to everything that I mentioned. And if I don't, or if you have other questions, just message me on Instagram and I can hook you up with the right people. Maybe get you a code if I have one, but if not, just point you in the right direction. So that's the test that's coming up soon. The other thing that I'm doing right now as we speak is I'm wearing my Apollo band. Now, Apollo is a brand that I've heard about on and off for a couple of years and didn't really understand what they did and how it worked. So basically, it's a band that goes on your wrist or your ankle and it vibrates. And I actually have their little card in front of me. And it says, Apollo's modes deliver a novel touch therapy that signals safety to your brain through your sense of touch, restoring balance to the nervous system and helping you bounce back faster. So it's this little device and it vibrates. So it's a wearable, which is really nice. And then they have all of these different vibrations that can help with your nervous system, which I definitely need help with. So I've been wearing it and kind of getting used to it. It's really interesting to see this type of technology be applied to a wearable, which I have not seen yet. And so I'm curious to kind of see how my daily regimen of the different vibrations that you can set up impacts my stress levels and my nervous system. Because essentially, like, you can set up like a 7 a.m. one that has a certain vibration tone to it that is for like more energy and to be awake. And then you can set ones that are more for like meditation or to be clear and focused while you're working, like these different things. So I kind of have a schedule on my phone, and then it kind of just goes through these different vibrations throughout the day and you don't have to do anything. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I know a lot of people love the Apollo and I can see why. They make it really simple, and because you wear it on your wrist and you have an app, right? It's like you kind of set it and forget it type of idea, which I really, really appreciate when it comes to these types of biohacks. So they're really cool. Yeah, check them out if you haven't already. The supplement that I'm currently taking right now, I'm actually on it right now as we speak, I guess it's a supplement, is a psilocybin microdose by Moment Mushrooms. Now, I was really into microdosing about a month ago and then I kind of stopped, but now I've just recently started again, and I use a really small amount of psilocybin. Okay, so let me read the ingredients in this. So 75 milligrams of psilocybin, like milligram, that is such a small amount. 110 milligrams of cordyceps, 95 milligrams of ashwagandha, 55 milligrams of maca, 55 milligrams of ginkgo biloba, 55 milligrams of bee pollen, 40 milligrams of ginseng, 40 milligrams of guarana, and 30 milligrams of ginger. So this one is interesting because it's for creativity and clarity and focus, which is why I take it while I'm working, because it just kind of puts me into the zone, the headspace that I want to be in. And it's really great. Every single time I talk about mushrooms on Instagram or my podcast, I always get so many questions about it because I think there's so many people who are curious and so many people who are wanting to try them. So my recommendations would be find a brand that you think is authentic and that you trust and that has good reviews. As always, those are kind of always the things you look for when buying any of these products. And yeah, just reach out to them and tell them what you're looking for, because they can be used for different things. So like they can be used for creativity and focus, but they can also be used for stress management and feeling calmer and winding down. And there's different blends for different things that you're looking for. So when I got these, I spoke to Moment about it and I said, this is what's going on in my life. Like, this is where I need support. Can you, like, what do you recommend? I don't want to take anything that's going to be too strong because I want to be able to focus and get things done, but I also want to be in the right headspace so I can feel good. And yeah, so that's what they recommend. I think Moment specifically is a Canadian brand. And if you're in Canada, like you obviously have to order from a Canadian brand because they can't be shipped legally across the border right now. If you're in the States, you're going to have to find a different brand. I think there's a bunch coming out now though. And it very much feels like mushrooms in general are kind of where cannabis was maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, kind of like when cannabis was super illegal and everyone was buying it under the table and like that whole narrative. Whereas now mushrooms are kind of like that, but I think there's 2 states in the US that it's legal and it's slowly getting better. And there's like loopholes, right? Like this Canadian brand sent me mushrooms. Like, how did they do that? If it's illegal, right? There's obviously like loopholes that people are finding. And I really think we're moving towards a place where psilocybin is going to be legalized. Absolutely. I don't know how long it's going to be from now, maybe 5 years, maybe longer, but I definitely think it is. And I actually want to bring this brand on my podcast to talk to them because I'd love to know more. I think it's really interesting, the whole psychoactive drugs and hallucinogen drugs movement in general. We're seeing a lot of people microdose with different things, not just psilocybin. Like people are microdosing with LSD, ketamine, and other things like that. And so I think we're kind of moving towards this place where we thought all drugs were bad, quote unquote, and they were made illegal for all of these like pharmaceutical, historical reasons. A lot of people were suppressed. Like it's just complicated, unfortunately. And so I think we're moving past that now where we're getting enough research to actually back up making these no longer illegal and getting these into the hands of people who really struggle, whether it's PTSD, depression, anxiety, stress, whatever it is. We're kind of seeing that wave happen now. And it's really cool because it's a big part of the biohacking world, I think. And I think it's going to be massive. Like I actually think it's going to be massive. So if you haven't tried microdosing yet, go for it. Honestly, go for it. Start with something really small. Like I said, like this one is 75 milligrams. When I first started, I did 50 milligrams of psilocybin, and you can do whatever you're comfortable with. I don't think, it depends what you're comfortable with. Like I've taken 150 milligrams and then it was a bit too much because I don't know if I didn't eat enough that day or whatever. And I remember responding to my emails being like, wow, all I can do today is respond to these emails. And I'm so glad I don't have any meetings. So I think it kind of depends on on your levels and your tolerance as well, because there's a bunch of resources online about tolerance for psilocybin. So kind of like alcohol, like the more you do it, the higher your tolerance goes. It would be interesting right now if I did 150 milligrams to see how I'd feel. Maybe I should. Yeah, interesting. So definitely check it out. And don't be afraid. If you have any specific questions, message me and I'm here to help you. I think they can be so good for people who are overworked, overstressed, have anxiety, have depression, have mood disorders, and just mental health in general. Like we've really, really seen a lot of love and acknowledgement been given to the mental health movement in the last few years, rightfully so. And so I think psilocybin is just another tool in our toolkit to really help us in that way and help us optimize our mental health. How can you tell if your healthy and not so healthy decisions are impacting your health on a cellular level, or even impacting your biological age? Feeling better is one thing, and having symptoms get better is one thing, but there's something completely different about having the data and the numbers behind it. This can be very helpful for both your short-term and your long-term goals. We need to be testing ourselves regularly so we know where we stand, whether it's testing our vitamin levels, cholesterol, blood sugar, whatever it is. The proof is in the data. It can be such a pain to get tested through our doctors and our clinics. And when we do these tests, often they don't even give us all the biomarkers that we ask for. That's why I love at-home tests. I find it super interesting to get my biological age test specifically because it indicates how all of my decisions are impacting me. Your biological age is a representation of your health conditions and a predictor of how soon you can exhibit chronic conditions of late life. This is obviously compared to our chronological age, which is just the amount of time that has passed since we were born. When I first got tested last year, my results said I was 19.7 years old. And the second time I was tested, it said I was 18 years old. And I was 27 at the time. I recently got my biological age tested again through Inside Tracker's Inner Age Test. And this time it said I was 22 years old and I'm now 28. My age actually went up. And this is likely because my HbA1c levels were higher after spending 10 days in Costa Rica recently, where I had a ton of cocktails and fruit and carbs, and also just eating more carbs and processed food in the last few months. The great thing about Inside Tracker's Inner Age Test is that it actually shows you which specific biomarkers are making you older or making you younger. And it identified that my HbA1c needs to come down because it's actually making me older on a cellular level, which is so helpful to know and know what I need to be doing next. Knowing your age can help you make these changes and help you just really make smarter decisions and be more informed moving forward. I always get tested through Inside Tracker, and you can as well, and use my discount code at checkout, which is Biohacking Brittany in all capitals. It's linked on my website underneath my shop, and it'll be on my show notes as well. So yeah, a couple other things that I've been using that aren't on my desk is my HigherDose sauna. And if you do follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I have been using this a lot recently. So basically it's a sauna blanket and you lie inside and you put a towel around you and it heats up really, really hot, surprisingly. Like I actually didn't think it was going to be that hot, but it's got all of these amazing benefits to it. It's super, super grounding. Like you get into it and you just feel so cozy and warm and you're lying down, you put your head on a pillow, you can, put the TV on if you need to, or you can set it up on your bed wherever you are. And it feels so good. There's actually like crystals that are inside the sauna as well, which is really good for negative ions and just energy in general. And it uses far infrared light. So that, or like rays, that's how it heats you. And I really enjoy it. It's been great compared to the other sauna I had at home, which was like this cheap sit down sauna that you basically, it's like a camping chair, and then the sauna goes around you and just your head is poking out. It's hilarious. I bought it on Amazon for like $300 and I'm going to sell it because I don't want it anymore. And I used that for like a year during the pandemic. Like every night I would, this is so sad to admit, but every night I would sit in my sauna and watch Lost because I didn't watch Lost like when it was coming out. And then I started Lost during the pandemic, and because there was nothing else to do and everything was locked down, I watched, I don't even remember how many seasons there are of it, like something crazy, but I watched all of it, like literally all of it from that sauna. So at least I was sweating and detoxing during that time. And this is definitely an upgrade from that. The quality is unbelievable. And that's why they have such good reviews. And I can see why. I also love that it was developed by 2 female biohackers, and it's a female-led and run company. I love that. It's so important. And we don't see that a lot right now with female biohacking companies at all. So I'm so happy to support them. I also got their red light therapy face mask. And so sometimes I stack these biohacks together. Again, like I've been posting about this on Instagram, but basically it's a face mask that you tie to the back of your head. And it's kind of creepy looking, but it shines red light onto your skin, and you can choose 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And it's fantastic for healing scars, like skin rejuvenation, cellular rejuvenation, the mitochondria, everything that red light therapy is beneficial for. And I really appreciate it. So I love it because it's so convenient. So I have like panels of red light that I've hung from my door before, but it was just always something extra to do, right? You're kind of just like meditating in front of them and you're standing in front of them. But this one, like you put it onto your face. It has a little remote that it's like wired to the mask, and you can put that in your pocket or just hold it. And then you can walk around the house and get stuff done. You can sit and meditate as well. You can go in your sauna while using it. You can do all sorts of things. So it's very, very easy to use because it's just the way that it's designed. And so I like to stack those together. So that's by HigherDose as well. And I will definitely link to that because, again, like whenever I post about that, I get a lot of questions. The other thing that's sitting on my desk right now, that is on my desk, is my Shungite pyramid, we'll say. So Shungite's really interesting as somebody who is interested in EMF and kind of, just like concerned about it and concerned about what to do about it because it's not going anywhere. And my lifestyle is completely online. My work is online. So how do I kind of mitigate the issues? And Shungite is just like a beautiful way to support that. So I have the prism or the pyramid sitting on my desk, and I like to play with it. And I have a couple other bracelets as well. And a lot of people are into Shungite now. I kind of see it all over Instagram. And it's so cool to just be like using this old gemstone to be able to support our health. Do you ever feel frazzled, not grounded, stressed, and like you have way too much on your plate? Of course, you should be taking time for self-care, but doesn't mean you actually are. And it kind of just feels like another thing on your to-do list. I have definitely been there. It's tough to kind of balance everything these days, especially for those of us working from home with extra side hustles and or kids. Stress reduction feels like a nice idea, but never something easily achievable in the moments when we need it the most. I believe in solutions that use science to help us be healthier on a daily basis, but without crazy technology or tools that aren't accessible or affordable for everybody. I use Sensate, which is something that I've been using for a long time now, and I spoke about a lot last year, which is a groundbreaking innovation in wellness technology that uses the natural power of sonic resonance to calm your body's nervous system, providing immediate, let me tell you, relief and long-term benefits from regular use. It calms your nerves and helps you feel better in as few as 10 minutes per day. It improves stress resilience to help you cope with whatever life throws at you. And it increases heart rate variability, a known biomarker of health and longevity. This is so important because for many of us, our body's built-in stress management system is simply just an overdrive. Sensate's novel patented technology was designed to send infrasonic waves through the chest to reach the vagus nerve that sits deep in the core of our nervous system. By speaking to our body's command center, we can control how we respond to all the positive and negative things that we experience each day, which is just so cool and such an easy biohack to bring in every day. You can use my discount code, which is Biohacking Brittany in all capitals. I will put the link in the show notes, and it's on my shop page at biohackingbrittany.com, and you get $25 off today. If you have any questions about it or when you get it, please message me. I'd love to chat, as this is one of my favorite biohacking tools to use on a regular basis. And yeah, the last thing I would say that I'm currently into, which I feel like this is a lot, but maybe it's not. I don't know. The last thing would be just continuing with my Peloton. So I've recently, this is kind of a wormhole, but I've recently been thinking about how stressed I usually am and how that's impacting my health. And I might do a separate episode on this because I don't really want to dive into it fully today, but somebody who has her own business and also does other work as well, and is just like trying to keep up with everything every single day. And then on top of that, riding the Peloton, going in the sauna, going on hikes, going out on the weekend, doing these things, like life just feels pretty full and sometimes like overwhelming. And when I was in Costa Rica, I kind of thought a lot about this of like, how do I reduce the amount of stress that I'm under? Because kind of just feels like I'm always stressed. And so one of the things that I've started doing is taking a step back from HIIT workouts. And not that I was ever doing chronic cardio, but just, changing my workout routine. And so now I'm still using Peloton. I'm using their app and I'm doing their strength workouts. And this is great because it's building muscle. It's still a workout. It's still moving the body, supporting the limbs and the joints and everything like that. But it's getting away from super stressful workouts that release a lot of cortisol, like a HIIT workout, like a Peloton 45-minute ride. Like, as great as those can feel, like doing them 3-4 times a week, I think has just like run me down. And so now I'm moving towards, or I'm doing like strength workouts. And my current setup is Monday is legs day. So I'll do like a 30-minute strength legs day. And I just bought heavier weights for home as well. Wednesday is upper body and Friday is abs. And then on Tuesdays, I usually do yoga, like a longer stretching session. So at least 30 minutes. And then Thursdays, I will do a ride. So 20-minute, 30-minute ride, nothing more than that. And then the weekends, sometimes a hike and walks. And because obviously I have a dog, I'm still walking my dog every single day on top of that. But that's kind of where I'm at now compared to HIIT or Peloton rides like 3-4 times a week, walking all the time and that type of thing. And so as much as I love riding and I will continue to use the bike, like I need to reduce my overall stress load. Like I think it's just too much. It's too much for me to handle and it's too much for my body to handle. And it was so apparent when I went to Costa Rica because I think I arrived and it was either the day I arrived or the day after. And I ovulated right when we arrived, like the day or two after we arrived. So like the amount of carbs and fruit I was eating and relaxing and sleeping, like my body was like, yes, like this is what we need. This is what we want. So now I'm kind of thinking, how do I bring that sense to my life in Canada and to my life in general. Like, how do I maintain vacation mode, but still get everything done? And that actually, I guess we'll just talk about it. So that actually sparked a very interesting thought that I had and a very interesting idea of entrepreneurship in general, and especially for women. And my question is, and I actually talked about this in therapy last week, but my question is like, how do we be productive every single day, but still have optimal health and as a woman? So how do we get up, take the dog for a walk, have a great day at work, have a great attitude, be productive, exercise and move the body, but we sleep well, our stress management is great, our menstrual cycles are great, our hormones are balanced. There's no irregular cycles, there's no irregular periods, there's no fluctuation of symptoms, whether it's weight or skin or irritability or moodiness, or maybe you're older, right? Like maybe it's making menopause easier for you or premenopause easier. So I kind of started thinking about this idea of there's so many books out there and there's so many people who are so helpful for hustle culture, right? And it's not even like entrepreneurship. Like you could be totally in corporate America and be super stressed out and be dealing with like negative symptoms, of course. But I'm saying is like, where are the people who are talking about applying these same principles of how to be more effective in the workplace, but also while honoring our health? And I just don't really see it, let alone for women. Like the one female business course that I'm in, it's fantastic, but it's very much aligned with hustle culture in terms of like consistency, post on social media all the time. Here's how to make more money. Here's how to outsource, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing about stress management. There's nothing about health. There's nothing about self-care. That's like really what it is. It's like self-care and healthcare, like taking care of yourself. So I would just love to see books and narratives and courses and information about how to do this. Like, what if you just did the opposite of hustle culture and you actually had better results? What if you chose not to work on weekends and you had boundaries and you chose to sleep for 8 hours and you chose to not drink alcohol and not drink coffee and you started saying no to people who were asking you to do more? And the results were you were actually better in your workplace and happier and more productive and more successful, maybe as an entrepreneur, maybe as an employee, and your health was in a better space. Like, I would just be so interested to see the narrative flipped. And mostly for women, honestly. Like, I think it's really helpful for men, but women, our hormones are so delicate and so responsive to our environment, like so responsive. So I think if we flip the narrative on its head and we move away from a culture of go, go, go to a culture of being grounded in yourself and being, just bringing in different tools and tactics to be more successful. Like I want to see that, and mostly because I want that for myself. So I'm curious about it. I'm like thinking about it and I'm thinking about what that could look like. And kind of like doing the N1 experiment, right? Like, okay, we have this idea and we have this hypothesis of here are all of these different things that we can bring in, lifestyle, nutrition, supplements. And the results are, like I said, like better work and better health. And it's completely opposite of, what we're seeing online. So maybe I'll test that out for myself and maybe I'll create a guide. Don't know what I would call it. Or a book? No, not a book, not yet. Maybe a guide. We'll start with a guide. And I would just love to see that. Like even today, like when I open up my phone, I download my podcasts for today, like the titles of all of the podcasts are like just so stress inducing, honestly. Like there was a podcast from, I think, Boss Babes today, and it was like get on TikTok and make 6 figures in one day. And it's just another thing for me to do. It's another, you know what I mean? Like it's another thing on the list. It's another way of demanding more of me and causing more stress. And so it's just interesting. So I'm just curious about how can we support our health and our career goals at the same time? And if you're listening to this and you relate to that, seriously, message me on Instagram, like right now, whip out your phone and message me, because I am very curious and I would love to talk to females about this or males and just see what you have to say. If you have any recommendations of people you know who preach this, or books or courses or guides or whatever it is, please message me. I want to know. And I'm curious because, again, like my own sense of hustle has caused so much stress from my body that I'm having irregular cycles and whatever other symptoms. And I know that's happening with so many other women, whether it's irregular cycles or weight gain or acne or sleeping problems or whatever. And honestly, like the cause is stress. So how do we approach it differently? Yeah, I have so many questions. So that's my rant, but I hope this was insightful for you. This is kind of just like the things that I'm going through right now, both personally and my health and the products that I'm using and trying. Again, like it's not sponsored by anybody like specifically, but I want to keep you up to date. And there's so many new things that are constantly coming out. There's so many supplements. There's so many new gadgets and tech and things to try. And it can be overwhelming. Talk about stress. Like it can be overwhelming just listening and being like, oh my gosh, what should I buy now? Or what should I do next? Or what's going to be the one thing that gives me the little edge on my health? So I get that. I totally get that. And sometimes the best biohacks are the free biohacks, which are like go outside and go for a walk and put your bare feet on the earth and sleep well. Because honestly, like that will move the needle way more than taking psilocybin once or putting Shungite on your desk or using Apollo or whatever it is. Like the basic biohacks, the foundation will do a lot. So try that first and then bring in like some of these extra things and start learning and growing as you do. Thank you for listening. I am so grateful and it means a lot to me. It really, really does. And let me know again if you have any questions or thoughts. And thank you for everybody who's leaving reviews lately, both on iTunes and on Spotify. I appreciate that. And I will look out for the ones for next week. And yeah, stay tuned next week for another episode.